What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm joined today by Tyler and Titletown, the TNT Print Factory. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and away we go. Title, glad to have you today. Doing pretty well in the DFS. You want to talk about everything that's been going on over at Run Pure Sports?
Yeah, it's a lot of sports going on right now with baseball, basketball. Then we got MMA, we got golf, NASCAR, hockey. It's just what a time in the sports world right now, which is awesome since we all know we had a couple months break and stuff. But it's nice to be full back in action. A lot of winners. Yesterday, someone took down the FanDuel small dollar. I think it's like a $3 150 max, 65,000 or 62,000. He won in that. Shout out to him. There's been a lot of big hits. On the bet side, you've been crushing it. Tyler's been crushing it. Joey Work's been crushing it. JJ. It's just been a really good time for Run Pure Bets, Run Pure Sports. If you haven't got on, I don't know what you're waiting for. And then we got some early baseball that's just about to lock here in a couple minutes. We got baseball Maine later. We'll have a show for that. And then we got basketball that we're about to dive in, a nice 6-game slate. So it's an awesome time to be a sports fan. Lots of action. And if you're not a part of it, you just don't like money at this point. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, like I was telling you before we got started, I really admire your work ethic. I struggle trying to do 2 daily sports. I definitely had to cut back my tennis handicapping because the NBA was just monopolizing so much of my time trying to keep up with these injury reports, all the news, who's playing, who's not, who's trying, who's not. So I think that it's fantastic that you're able to pull it off and do it successfully. Tyler, you've been a little away from the NBAs lately, but you've been breaking down the NFL draft. How's that going for you? And you looking forward to our appearance on some Keg Live tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's been going good, but it's the NFL draft, so you know how that goes. Anything could change with one trade and the whole draft changes. So ready to dive back into some NBA.
All right, well, we're going to dive into NBA right away. But, guys, just if you're a member of runpurebets.com, we will have a live show tonight. Tyler and I will be betting the NBA, giving out some live plays there. And, of course, we'll be sweating, watching, and analyzing the NBA draft. So you need to be a member of runpurebets.com in order to access that. Use promo code BETS25 off. If you are, come hang out tonight. We're going live at 7:30 Eastern. Holden, Tyler, myself. Maybe even some other couple special guests. So that'll be a great time and another great reason why you should join runpurebets.com. But you guys know all that because you probably watch more often than I do. Let's jump right straight in these games. First game is the Dallas Mavericks. They're heading to Detroit to take on the Pistons. And the Pistons are doing this weird thing where they like hockey line their injury report. So it's like they only play their starters or their best players every other day. So now we're on an off day. So that means Plumlee's out, Dennis Smith Jr.'s out, Corey Joseph's out, Wayne Ellington's out, Jeremy Grant's out, Rodney McGruder's out. But they had the kindness to let us know that Josh Jackson's in. And not to be outdone, Dallas went ahead and put 4 of their 5 starters questionable. So J.J. Redick, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luka Doncic are all questionable. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I don't even know what they're doing. It almost feels like they're at some little war with the NBA office by putting all these guys questionable every day. But, don't fear, Maxi Kleber's in, so we can go ahead and handicap this game. Now, Title, obviously I'm a little bit frustrated trying to break this game down. But why don't you give me your early looks in the game? And I know doing the DFS, you kind of track these injuries. What do you expect for Dallas as far as all those questionables? Are they just messing with us, or do you think there's a chance those guys sit?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to go and break this game down since half their roster is questionable on Dallas and Detroit is, I mean, they have nobody. If Luka plays and if Porzingis, Luka, Finney-Smith, if their starters play, I absolutely would have a lot of interest in this line at 8.5. I mean, Detroit just, I don't know what they can throw at them to stop Dallas. Detroit has a hard time scoring the ball too with this offense. So if they're all in, I like the line, but if they're all out, I mean, Detroit could be scrappy. It could be one of the grossest games that we've seen. I don't have a lean on the injuries, to be honest. I assume my guess would be Luka does play over he doesn't, just because that's what he's been doing recently. I haven't noticed anything different with him. He always has that limp, it seems, plays at his own speed. People talk about him being hurt, even when he's as healthy as he is. So I don't know what's going on. He plays. My guess is he does, but I'm not betting it either way right now without the news. And for DFS, I mean, we're going to have a ton of interest in this game on the Detroit side for sure. Killian Hayes is going to be one of the best plays. Diallo, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Frank Jackson. They're just, it's going to be loaded up on the Pistons. That's what April and May DFS is. Whatever teams just aren't playing their starters, you load up on them. As far as Dallas, if Luka and all them are out, Brunson, Hardaway, this game would be the game stack right away.
All right, I think that's a great breakdown. So we'll obviously need to keep monitoring on that news. And we got a little extra time because it's a shorter slate today. And so, Tyler, I think he pretty much broke that game. It's hard for us. Why don't we? I'll start with you, but I also want to know Title's thoughts. What is your outlook for this Dallas team going into the playoffs? Right now, if the season ended, I think they are in 7th or 6th. They're in 6th. How do you think that this team's gonna go in the playoffs? And I'll tell you what, Tyler, I've been a little disappointed by the role players. Feels like they're leaving Luka to do everything. But do you think they can kind of rise up and make an upset in the first round, or is this a one and done team, Tyler?
I mean, if the season ended right now and they draw that matchup they had last year and they got to play the Clippers again, I don't think there's a chance they make it out of the first round. I think that's the worst matchup for them in the West, because you have 2 wing defenders that you could throw at Luka, and then they do have a few big bodies now that they could throw at Porzingis.
Yeah.
So even if he does go off like he did in those first 2 games of that series last year before he went down, I mean, I think Ibaka could give him some troubles.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when he finally comes back, because they basically just put him on the shelf until the playoffs. Title, what do you think of Dallas's playoff chances?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for them. I mean, if you get the Clippers, that's probably the last team you want. I'd rather go against the Suns or the Jazz. And I even like the Suns, but there's just, what the Clippers bring to you. I don't see them making the Western Conference Finals or pushing it like that. I think the league's too top heavy. But the thing Dallas has, the weapon that they always have in their back pocket, is Boban. And we know, I mean, people might think I'm joking or something, but if Boban's on the court, he makes a big difference in certain situations and certain games where he can be plus 25 and play 25 minutes. If they just match up with the team right. Like the Suns, I mean, he could give DeAndre Ayton a ton of problems. If he destroys Ayton, I don't what's the Suns' answer? It's Saric, or you know what I mean? So exactly. They have routes. They have Luka's one of the best players in the league. Porzingis, if he gets hot. They have pieces, but like you said, I don't think their complementary pieces have been good enough. They're Josh Richardsons of the worlds, Tim Hardaway's. I like Brunson, but I don't think they're deep enough. The West is too top heavy. They could get out of the first round and make a shocking 7-2 or even 8-1 just because of the Jazz and Suns little unknowns with them going in, but they're not a Western Conference Finals team, I don't think.
All right, that's awesome, Title. So this is why you guys got to tune into the NBA Rundown every day. You never knew when you'd find out that Boban is the key to Dallas' success. So I love to hear that. Just having some fun. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks, 38-23, 27-33 against the spread, heading to Houston to take on the tanking, terrible Rockets, who are 15-47. 21-41 against the spread. Houston's catching 12.5 at home. Let's see the injury report. We got no Gordon, no DJ Augustine. Looks like House and Avery Bradley are questionable. No Nwaba or Sterling Brown on the Milwaukee side. Axel Tupain, I've never heard of him. Is he good, Title?
To be honest, I have no clue who that is.
Okay, so he must have just signed like a 10-day or something. Or been up in the G League. So, but I know that you daily fantasy guys will know about him if he ever puts up any numbers. But he's out tonight, and I got Giannis and Dante DiVincenzo questionable. Tyler, let's start with you. How are you approaching this game? I think that you found a nice little angle here, didn't you?
I mean, this should be a game where Milwaukee just goes out there and blows them out. We've seen them do this with these bad teams for the past couple of years. So, I mean, I really like them first half minus that 7.5. I think they just come out. You're going to get the starters in that first half for the majority of the minutes. I just think they run them off the floor. They're up maybe 10 to 15 points at half. So I think that 7.5 is a bit short.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a great argument, right? I don't know right off the top of my head because I haven't run the model for a couple of days, but I think Milwaukee's like +8 as a net rating just against all NBA teams combined. So now you're switching just to 12 for the Rockets, who might be the worst team. Right, I can make a great argument that they're the worst team.
Yeah, they're 8.4 net rating over the last 5 games. I did it a couple
of days ago. Yeah, 8.4, right? So now it's only 4 points for the Rockets. I think that's a great argument for the Bucks right there. So, Tyler, why don't you break down that game, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about Milwaukee's playoff prospects.
Yeah, I totally agree with Tyler, and I think it's a really sharp call on taking the first half because I was going to say the 12.5 full game, but there's always risk to that. Like Bucks are up 20 going in the fourth quarter. They just play their backups, and Houston gets a couple turnovers, careless, whatever. And then you're looking at it like you were saying yesterday, and at 30 seconds left, you're in a sweat. Where in the first half, you're getting the full Giannis, Middleton, and all that. I don't see how Houston keeps up with the Bucks today. Giannis absolutely should dominate this game. So I definitely like that. I'll probably tail it as well. As far as DFS, like I love Giannis as a spend up. I assume we'll have some value on the slate. We talked about it earlier with Detroit. I just don't see anybody on Houston stopping Giannis.
Yeah, and that's pretty fair. So let's go ahead and talk about their prospects. I know you're a big Bucks guy, and I'll tell you what I've seen. I think PJ Tucker might have been the sneaky best addition at the trade deadline, right? Like, I kind of was like, okay, that's a good move, right? But now I'm watching it in action. The defense looks so much more fluid with him out there. I mean, to get a versatile defender like that, they're switching everything. They have the personnel to do it. I mean, is this maybe the key to unlocking this team's potential, right? And finally meeting expectations? Like, so what do you think about the Bucks? I felt better about them going in this year than any other year, which is crazy because their record's worse this year. Their net rating's actually down. They had a historical net rating last year. I think it was plus 11 or plus 12. But I feel like this team is way more juiced up for the playoffs. And I also think I discounted how much better Drew Holiday is than Eric Bledsoe. So go ahead and give us a quick idea of what you're expecting from Milwaukee here. And do you think that they could be Eastern Conference Finals bound?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. One of your last statements, and this is what I thought coming into the year, the Bucks were as good as they've ever been with the best chance because Eric Bledsoe is not a good basketball player. He does not make your team better. Drew Holiday is a stud, and not only a stud on the offensive end who can get his own. He will chase around your best player and give him hell for 36 minutes in the playoffs, which is what you really need in a guard-heavy league. So I love it. PJ Tucker, I love the signing as well. The thing is, I was hoping he would play more minutes because they don't need 5 scorers on the court. They need the defense. They need someone like PJ Tucker. But his minutes have been hovering in the low 20s. So I'm not sure what his role necessarily is going to be in the playoffs. I hope it's a lot. But yeah, I think the Bucks are a very tough out for anybody. But the problem is this is the best Bucks team there has been, but this is also the hardest competition in the East with the Nets up top. I mean, if Harden, Durant, and Kyrie are all healthy in the playoffs, I just don't see a team beating them, to be honest. So I think the Bucks can get to the Eastern Conference Finals if they avoid the Nets. They have all the talent in the world. I'm not worried about like the Celtics, the 76ers. I'm not too worried about them. But the Nets, man, they're gonna be a tough out for the Bucks for sure.
Well, and you also mentioned a big if. I mean, we know hamstrings are finicky, right? And we also know Harden, for all his faults, loves basketball. He's legitimately hurt here. So I think that they'll really struggle. I mean, I know the KD and Kyrie is pretty cool, but with how strong the East is, if they don't have Harden, I don't necessarily like their chances. I also think that now they match up pretty well with Philadelphia, better than they did before. I really like that Tucker addition. I think that it's really going to help slow down and force them to funnel everything through Embiid. Which could help them, but I still like Brook Lopez down low to maybe give him some problems, and I love the ability to double team. I remember I was watching when they played before, and Embiid wanted Giannis to guard him, and the reason he wanted him to guard him was because Giannis kept disrupting the passing lanes. So when other guys were doubling, he was having problems passing out because he's not the best passer to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I do think that they can give them some troubles. What do you think, Tyler? Am I being a little too optimistic on this Milwaukee Bucks team, or do you think that they could be Eastern Conference Finals or maybe even NBA Finals bound?
No, I think so. I think Eastern Conference Finals for sure. Finals maybe even. Because you look at that, they could run like almost like a death lineup with defense with DiVincenzo, Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, Tucker.
Yep.
To where everything, no screen is not switched on that lineup. Even when you're playing the Nets, you could switch across all 5 guys with that.
Yep.
So that just throws teams off big time. They can still score. They can still get the ball to Giannis inside. And we've seen Holiday shut guys down. Like, we've seen what he did to Dame when he was in New Orleans.
Yep.
He shut him down for a whole series and changed the outlook on that entire series. If he takes one of the Nets guys out and we have another one out with injury still, and it's just, say, Kevin Durant, I think they could beat them. And if they play Philly, I mean, are we betting the under every game in that series with all those defensive guys?
Yeah. And another addition, Bobby Portis, which hasn't been talked about too much, but Bobby Portis can
he's
play.
A great addition too. Yep. He's another one you could plug into almost that lineup.
Oh yeah,
you could move Holiday down to the point guard.
Yeah, they can go a lot. Big. They can go a lot of ways. The biggest worry for me is, I mean, they just have an idiot at the helm for Budenholzer.
Yep.
Like, I mean, what Giannis? What if he plays 32 minutes? Yeah. So that's always going to be a worry. Unfortunately,
it's a big worry. And you know what's funny in that death lineup you mentioned, Tyler? I think that the opposing teams would hunt DiVincenzo, and I don't.
That's the only weakness in it, to where
I don't think that he's necessarily the guy you want to be hunting.
He's solid.
I mean, yeah, I think that he'll do better than, they might try and hunt him and then be like, wait a second, why are we doing this?
Yep.
Like, this guy's good. So
he's got game.
Yeah, I mean, the Eastern Conference, I think this is the most excited I've been for the Eastern Conference Finals since, well, I guess last year was pretty good too. But, I mean, it's just getting so good. I'm glad that we're having more parity, at least on the top across the league, because, I mean, definitely whoever comes out of the East has got a great chance. It's not going to be like just a sacrificial lamb. Like we've had in the past. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors, who are 31-31, 29-33 against the spread, heading to Minnesota to take on the resurgent Timberwolves. Title, they've won 3 in a row. What a team, 19-44, 29-33 against the spread. D'Angelo Russell's back in the lineup. Anthony Edwards continues to develop. Karl Anthony Towns is balling. Do they continue tonight against the Warriors? It was +5. I actually kind of liked it at +5. Didn't make a move. I don't bet overnights anymore. Woke up. The market agreed with me. It moves down to +4 and as low as 3.5 at some points. Looked like there was a little Golden State buyback this morning while we were doing our prep. What do you think about this game? It almost feels to me, I like Minnesota, but I was telling Tyler, I almost feel like I'm buying too high on them on the 3-game win streak. And then obviously, you're selling low on the Warriors coming off that terrible performance against the Dallas Mavericks. So how are you approaching this game? I mean, at first, last night I wanted to take the dog. Now the more I think about it, I think I want to be square and take the favorite. What do you think, Title?
Yeah, I think this number is actually pretty right. Minnesota's definitely getting a lot healthier, playing better basketball. Towns is looking very good, back to his old self kind of. D. Russ is finally coming along. Anthony Edwards, we know, always has the utmost confidence in himself and is finally playing really good basketball, shooting a lot better. So I think this Timberwolves team is better than what the public is thinking of them, just because of how bad they've been in the past. But Vegas, I think, is giving them the right credit. And as far as the Warriors, I mean, Steph is just playing out of his mind. I know he's had a couple little subpar games in there, but you can just tell the offense is flowing right. Draymond's looking really good passing out of the screens. I like Juan Toscano Anderson on the bench. They have a good rotation where the guys are finally starting to come into their roles. So I think this number is right. I was looking at the over-under a little bit, but man, I don't know. I want to say over. Two teams that are just going to push the pace a lot, aren't afraid to chuck it earlier in the shot clock. I mean, anytime with Steph, long rebounds, more transition. So I think I lean the over, but the number is pretty high at 234 too. So don't have the biggest lean. As far as DFS, Kent Bazemore stands out a lot. He's only 3.9K. I expect him to get the start probably because Kelly Oubre is doubtful. Damian Lee's out. Wiseman's still out, and then Pascal's still out. So Kent Bazemore is way too cheap. I like him when he slides into the starting role. I'd probably look for the over at his props. I haven't looked at to see what they are yet, but he's a player I do like today.
Tyler, what are you thinking about this game? Golden State, Minnesota catching 4. Do you want to ride the hot hand, or do you think Golden State gets right here?
I was going to say, I love that Kent Bazemore look. You should get that number nice and low. Maybe even get it at like 8.5, and you should blow that number out of the water.
Yeah.
But, I mean, looking at this game, I kind of like Golden State just because you said it's like almost the buy low spot for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, how much do the Timberwolves really want to win these games at this point in the year?
The funny thing is they do. And it's stupid because
I know the players want to win, but like this is the point where it's like where do the guys up top start to look down at this? You look at all the teams, there's one team that has less wins than them, and it's Houston. They're tied with everyone else after a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah,
so that pick could jump right up to the top, outside of the top 3, and now it's Golden State's to where you don't get a guy this year. So, you might see some weird rotations tonight, but you never know.
Yeah, the whole thing's just wild, right? Gerson Roses, I don't know what he's doing here, right? if you really wanted to tank, why would you bring in a better coach halfway through the season? Look at their offense. It's so much more fluid. They're actually running plays. They're using Edwards in the pick and roll. They've got movements between Towns and Edwards, and now that Russell's back, I mean, they look like a competent NBA offense that actually matches the amount of talent they have. I mean, Finch really, I think, put a spotlight on how little Ryan Saunders was doing to actually affect the outcome of the game, right? It's almost like he was just throwing the ball out there for him and just hanging out because the offense looks so much more crisper, but by replacing him with Finch, they made it right. I mean, that's almost why I think the Kings aren't going to fire Walton. It's like, why would we want? We want to be bad. Why would we make our coach better? I think Alvin Gentry would have been better for the Kings. So it's weird. I actually think that we'll get full effort from Minnesota tonight. For whatever reason, I do think they want to finish strong. It could just be to feel like they have some sort of momentum going into next year, and it's not just a hopeless lost franchise. Maybe the incentive to not get Towns to demand a trade, right, and force his way out of town.
I mean, Steph's got to be one of the better spend ups tonight, right? Title.
Yeah, I like Steph a lot.
With the matchup with D'Angelo Russell, he should go for almost 50.
Yeah, he should. You're right. What about Towns though? I mean, he should eat too, right?
Oh yeah, Towns. I mean,
can we stack this game title?
Oh, you could definitely stack this game. I mean, you could go to like Michael Mulder too at 3.1K. He's been in the rotation more. He just shipped actually one of our subs a couple days ago, like 20K or something. So 3.1K there. Jordan Poole's in the rotation, who's 4.5K. I already said Bazemore. And if you want to go and pay up for the Towns and Currys, you could definitely stack this game. And there's Detroit value too. So 6-game slate. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about when you stack it too, you always have that hidden upside with overtime and a 4-point spread. If you get that overtime, 5 extra minutes for like 4 players, I mean, you're sitting real pretty if that happens.
I think I'm gonna have to make a Towns Curry stack tonight. I mean, that just sounds. I mean,
yeah. Sounds tasty.
It's going to be boom or bust. It's either going to be, you're either going to be, in the money or you're going to be way at the bottom, right? Like,
well, I think it all depends on really, if the game stays close, I think they get there for sure. And that's always the case with Steph, since his rotation plays the whole first, plays the whole third. Yeah. I mean, if the game's a 30-point game in the fourth quarter, he doesn't come back in. You only get the 2 quarters of run, 2.5. So if it stays close, which Vegas thinks it does, I really like it.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, we got kind of distracted. So I like Golden State there. Who did you lean, Tyler?
I like Golden State also.
And Title, which way did you lean?
I lean the over a little bit, but I didn't have a strong lean.
Okay. All right. So we got it. We're going to stack the game. Tyler and I like Golden State. Title leans to the over, which is great when this stack comes to fruition. Let's talk about a team last night that covered when they shouldn't have. Pissed me off in the middle of the casino. Got me yelling at the TV like one of those wild old men. Everyone's looking at me. But I'm talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and the aforementioned Eric Bledsoe banking in a 3 with like a minute to go to ruin my cover. Now they head to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder. The Thunder are catching 9.5. The Thunder coming off a nice little win in Boston there where they were a plus 11 dog. They win straight up. The Pelicans, like I just mentioned, they squeezed out that cover against Denver last night. They shouldn't have covered that game. Travis and I were texting each other last night, pretty upset that the Pelicans were able to pull that off. But that's the danger of laying points in the NBA. But I don't feel as hesitant to lay the points here tonight. OKC seems to be, on their way down, on their way out. But Title, here's my concern. I don't see Lou Dort on the injury report tonight. Is Dort playing?
Yeah, it looks like Dort is playing today.
I'm not going to fade OKC then.
I actually was leaning the Pelicans, to be honest. I just don't think they have an answer for Zion down low. I mean,
but it's just anyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw Denver's tough on D. Aaron Gordon with the help of Jokic and their length down low. I mean, they played Zion as good as pretty much anyone could have yesterday.
Hey, JaVale McGee had some sneaky effective minutes last night. I know for DFS it doesn't matter because he was just affecting shots and just being there down low, and he helps the team.
But
I was like, that's the rim protection that they actually need in this particular matchup. It's almost like I could see him playing like a bunch of minutes in one series and then not playing at all the next, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, he absolutely could be one of those guys for sure. It just sucks Jamal got hurt because that team did have a lot of upside, I thought. But yeah, I think I do lean the Pelicans if I had to go any side at 9.5. I don't think they have an answer for Zion. I mean, one team's playing to win. The other team, OKC, just doesn't. They don't look very good at all. It is a pretty steep number though, so I get the hesitancy for sure. Lou Dort, he's one of the best defenders in the league, but I don't think he'll be the one on Zion. I think Zion just makes a big difference in this game. And then Lonzo, he's the other reason. Yesterday I was all over him in DFS. His price is still pretty cheap. People just, I mean, he was hurt for a little while. He was out a couple weeks. People just haven't realized that his minutes are finally back to normal. And Lonzo's a way better player than he was to start his career. He's making drastic improvements. Now has a really good 3-ball to go along with good decision making. I think he's a very good player in this league, which, I mean, obviously his dad and everything, he gets some hate, but he can flat out hoop. I really like the price tag in DFS. I think the Pelicans they're going to finish strong, I think, with him back. Ingram's playing a little better. I do like his game. And then Zion. So this is a team I'm going to get behind a lot to close the year because they do want to keep winning.
All right. Yeah, and Lonzo, I think, will be the most attractive restricted free agent on the market. Kind of surprised that New Orleans didn't extend him simply for the fact that even if he wasn't in their plans, he has to, even with that extension, he has to be a completely attractive contract. I can think of so many backcourts that he fits in.
Wasn't he a name at the trade deadline too? That everyone was trying to get?
And Chicago was in for him, and I think Chicago was actually the perfect.
New York was. I think
Alonzo Levine backcourt would be fun.
Oh, that would have been so much fun. Yeah. Patrick Williams, that would have been fun.
So, Tyler, let's go back to this game though. Am I crazy for thinking that Lou Dort is the reason that I shouldn't fade the Thunder?
I just think that in this matchup, he really doesn't mean much because who do you put him on? Ingram's too tall and lanky. Zion's too strong. You're going to put him on Lonzo, who's going to pass the ball and facilitate most of the game. Maybe stops Lonzo from hitting a couple threes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and New Orleans is going to speed this pace up tonight because it looks like Adams isn't playing. He's listed as doubtful. Yep. Also means Zion's going to have a clear path to the hoop every time because there's not going to be a big guy standing down there in his way.
I don't think Adams is going to play. That looked kind of rough when he left the game last night.
Like who are they going to have? Little skin and bones Poku out there trying to stop Zion?
That was what I was going to ask you about. What do you think of Poku? And I mean, can you roster him tonight? He's kind of been sneaky getting like numbers.
So one of my good buddies is absolutely loves Poku. He thinks Poku's going to be not a star, but he thinks he's going to be a good player in the NBA for a long time. I can see it for sure. I mean, you can see the skills in him, but he's too raw right now, and this is the worst possible matchup you can get against someone like Zion, who, I mean, he'll just go right to your chest every time, and if he misses the first layup, he'll get the rebound and get the second. If he misses that one, he'll get I just don't see how he can stop him. But long term, I think he has some potential for sure. My buddy's really high on him, who I respect his opinion, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
When I first saw him, I was like, how did this guy get drafted in the NBA?
Yeah, I was like, what is this?
And I'm watching him, and I'm like, this guy's kind of got some sneaky, low-key good moves.
He reminds the really young version of Giannis, where you could just tell he was super raw, but if he keeps working, I mean, a complete different player too, but that understands what they do. Very raw, but you can see how they could have a solid role in the NBA.
I could see him developing into a good shooter. I mean, I like the way his form is fantastic. And he seems to have a nice basketball IQ as far as when to pass, when to draw people in. He's not just putting his head down and gunning. I'm actually surprised. My stance on him from the first month of the year to now has completely changed. I thought it was a completely wasted draft pick, So let's. What was the last question I wanted to ask you about this game? Pelicans. Let's just move on to the next one. I think that's it. Toronto Raptors. I should have bet them overnight. This is one of the few times I actually regret not hitting the overnight. So the Toronto Raptors were up to +5 last night. They're 26-36, 27-34. They're heading to Denver to take on the Nuggets, who are 41-21, 29-33 against the spread. I could have got +5 last night. It's now +2.5 for Toronto. The reason is Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. He looked tired last night. He had an ankle tweak that it looked more fatigue than an actual bat. It's just they looked exhausted out there. This will be their 5th and 7th or 5th and 8th night. They've been playing a ton of games. Originally, I liked Toronto here. The line moved against me. I'm not exactly sure how to approach this game. Title, why don't we start with you? What do you think about this game? And if Porter Jr.'s out, is Toronto the look?
Yeah, I mean, I like Toronto in this spot, if anything. But if I had to go a lean on something, I think I'd just take the under in this game at 219 or 218.5. Depends what book you have it at. Denver on a back-to-back. If Michael Porter's out, that goes a lot of the scoring. Chris Boucher's out for Toronto. There's just a lot of pieces that I mean, Gary Trent's also a lot of pieces in this game that people who do score are not going to be in there, and there's going to be secondary pieces where usually that's where the ball is stagnant a little more. They go deeper in the shot clocks. Denver on the second night of back-to-back, I don't think they're just going to push the pace if they don't need to. Toronto doesn't do that as much. Just feels like a game that's a lower scoring one that hits the under. Don't have too many pieces in DFS that I'll be interested in. Obviously, Jokic. I'm always interested in Jokic. He's a beast. Campazzo would be the other one that I like a lot.
He had a nice game last night.
Very nice game. And I think he's a solid basketball player. He knows his role, very scrappy on defense. Kyle Lowry, scrappy on defense. Give me the under in this game.
You just got help with that under, too. Hit it now because Fred VanVleet injury recovery listed out Thursday.
Yep, I'm going to hit it right now.
What's that line going to move back to now?
We got news in the Denver game also. Redick is now probable. Dorian Finney-Smith doubtful. Richardson probable. Porzingis probable. Luka doubtful.
Oh,
wow.
If Luka sits, how would you approach that game? I didn't think he would. But you know what? It's not that surprising because I only have 2 games on the board right now. That's the bad part about doing this. I think we're going to move it back an hour next year because halfway through the show, the
injury reports come.
Report drops. Yeah, I think next year we'll start doing it. But we've got 10 o'clock now. We've only got 2 weeks left in the season. And then Tyler, once it gets to the playoffs, it's not going to matter. We're not going to need these injury report dumps, right? So
yeah, it'll be.
We'll do 2 more weeks. We're navigating the injury report. Halfway through the show, all the games go off the board. But we're doing our best for you guys. And Greg, I gave out Miami yesterday. Like, what do you mean? Am I joking? That was my best bet. Like, I was all over them. And then Travis gave out Denver. Those were the 2 best bets of the day. We went 1-1, and Denver sucked, but we were on the right side. I mean, Greg, I mean, I'm not joking. I gave out Miami.
I think he's just giving you a hard time, Spread.
Well, hey, and he's acting like that Nuggets loss is my fault. And also, Title, now I remember what I was going to ask you when we were still talking about the game. Did you see the end of the game with the Jokic block on Zion?
I did. That was awesome.
Give me your opinion. Foul or no foul?
Oh, I only saw a Twitter video or a video. I didn't look really closely. So, I mean, I don't have a right judgment to make on that.
It looked pretty clean to me when I was watching live in the sports book, and I wanted it to be a foul because at that point I knew I wasn't going to cover.
Yeah.
So I'm like, get to the line, go 2, because watching the game, if we were gone to overtime, we would have covered. They were crushing. I can't even believe it was that close.
On Twitter, it looked clean on Twitter, but I didn't watch it.
I could see where they could argue for the foul there. I was kind of happy they didn't give it. And
when you slow everything down and replay, like, I mean, yeah, you could probably make a lot of things a foul when you really slow it down as slow as, I mean, in real life, it's really hard to make that call. It seemed fine.
Those refs want to get out of there and eat some of those Denver gummies because, I mean, like that fourth quarter, like everyone was just falling. They didn't call nothing towards the end of the game. I was like, it was funny. I was sitting there and when Denver had the ball, I would yell like, "That's a foul!" Like in the middle of sports book, everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. And then on the other end, I'm like, well, okay, if you're not going to call it on one end, I mean, it seemed like it was pretty even. Tyler, did you see the play, and what was your decision, foul or no foul? Our guy Joe Chris in the chat thinks it was a foul.
I think no foul. I think that was a solid block by him.
I know, and it's so funny, too, because listening to a lot of the because I'll listen to the other shows, especially yesterday because I wasn't playing DFS, so I was like, okay, I'll just listen to the betting shows, and a lot of people were talking about how Jokic's lack of rim protection was going to allow Zion to feast, and that was one of the reasons they liked the Pelicans in that matchup. And then, of course, he does the thing unexpected, and ended up getting the big block on the
I agree with West Coast in the chat, too. I mean, how many games have we seen this year where the refs have basically dictated the winner with a call with like 2 seconds to go? Like, unless the dude's getting clubbed and he can't get the shot off, don't blow the whistle.
And I actually thought it was good for Denver because that's how the playoffs are going to be called. So get them ready for it.
Well, not last year in the Bucks Miami series. What was that? 2 fouls in the span of 8.8 seconds or something when that game was decided both ways. in the
Isn't
playoffs.
It terrible too when we don't do it now as much? The only time I ever check refs is for the totals. But isn't it terrible that during the playoffs you won't make a bet until you find out who the refs are?
Yeah, you want to know who the refs are assigned to,
Especially on the
games.
totals. It's just wild how much it fluctuates from person to person. And I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but as it comes back, you remember like, oh, Tony Brothers. I mean, who was it? It was like Tony Brothers.
It's like Tony Brothers in a certain team. It just doesn't work out good for that
hates
team.
Harden, which actually doesn't surprise me that a ref wouldn't like James Harden. But all right, we were kind of stalling a bit for these lines to get back on the board because we do want to give out best bets with lines that the people watching the show can actually attack. So Mavericks and Pistons came back up at 7.5. The Nets are down to 5.5 against the Pacers. What do you guys think?
Did we even break that game down yet?
Did I skip that game? I did.
I think we might have.
Sorry, guys. I went out last night. I was in the casino till real late, guys. But we're having some fun on this show, and we get a little bonus game for you. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets versus the Indiana Pacers. The Brooklyn Nets are 42-20, 32-30 against the spread. They are heading to Indiana to take on the Pacers, who are 29-32, 25-36 against the spread. And Title, I think that you could play some minutes at center right now for the Pacers, right? I mean, who's their tallest guy on the floor? Like, at some nights in that Portland game, their tallest guy was like 6'7", and it didn't look like the Warriors' death lineup at all. It was terrible. What do you think of this game? The line's moved to 5.5. It's still pretty hard to get behind this team right now, this Indiana team. I'll tell you what, I did it the other night, and I believed, and I was pretty embarrassed when they played Portland. So how are you approaching this game, and what do you think of the 5.5?
Yeah, Kyrie and Harden are out, so it's KD's show today. But the Nets have good secondary pieces that I like on their team. I mean, they have Joe Harris, who's always solid. Jeff Green, anytime he steps into minutes, he plays well. Blake Griffin, I know I hated on him a lot when he came over, but he's impressed me. I mean, he's knowing his role. He's playing solid basketball, playing solid defense, making more open threes than I thought. So I think 5.5, I would still be on this Nets team with these injuries on the Pacers. I mean, without Sabonis, without Miles Turner, Goga and Jeremy Lamb are questionable too. If Goga's out, like you said, who's going to be their biggest player? It's going to be another Brissett day. Jakar Sampson can't play any minutes without fouling. I mean, it's every game the guy fouls.
Small.
Yeah, he fouls
3 or 4.
Yeah, he fouls two minutes into every game. He has 2 or 3 fouls. It's insane. Brissett's absolute beast, though. I think this guy should get minutes for some team throughout the whole regular season for multiple years. I really do like what I see in him. But 5.5, Kevin Durant's by far the best player on the court in this game. I think he's going to play over 30 minutes. I like Joe Harris, the Jeff Greens. Brooklyn has good secondary pieces, Bruce Brown. So give me 5.5 for the Nets, even without Kyrie and Harden. I don't think this Pacers team is very good with these injuries.
And you answered my question before I asked, but you said that Kevin Durant will be at more than 30 minutes. Does that make him a spend-up option, or are we still just a little bit worried here?
No, I think he's a lock at 8.5K on DraftKings with no Kyrie.
Monster now.
Yeah, 8 point price is way too
end up
cheap.
Being like 86. Not 86, but
he's gonna be chalky for sure.
And so, will you try and pivot and differentiate, or do you just go with it and just figure the rest of my lineup's going to be better than the rest of your lineup?
Yeah, so this is always the game theory and the tough question. So I think it depends on what cash games obviously you play them. Tournaments, okay. I think it depends on what size tournament are you in? Are you in a 120 person tournament? Then you can play Kevin Durant and get different at some other places because you only got to beat 111 people. If you're in a 20,000 person tournament trying to play for first, I mean, if someone's going to be 80%, that's just pretty much an auto fade for me. Just for the theory of game theory, I mean, he can get hurt. He can get in foul trouble. They can blow him out. They could restrict his minutes. Like all these scenarios, if someone's 80%, 20,000 people tournament, you gotta make stands somewhere. So that's kind of how I'd approach it. Big T and JSU are probably better ones to answer. They're more tournament players. I'm more cash, but
all right.
Got to think about the game theory perspective for sure.
Cool, and I love to hear that. And guys, that's the kind of example. That was a real simple question, but that's the kind of help you can get from the coordinators over at runpuresports.com. So, like I said, that was a real simple one. But if you guys are playing day in and day out, you're going to be able to give them, tougher, more intricate questions, and they're going to be able to provide answers for you. You'll have access to Title, Big T and JSU, who crush the tournaments, of course, Hoop and AP, who do quite well on their own, and the king of the cash cart, Travis Mangone, all at your fingertips, ready to answer questions such as that as you're building your lineup and kind of increasing your DFS skills, just like playing poker, even just like gambling, right? It's just experience, learning, feeling the game, and having some experts there to help you out. So that's what's great about being a member of runpuresports.com. Guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Title, do you have a promo code that they could use if they want to jump in that Discord and start talking to you tonight?
Yeah, I think it's RPS Heater 25. Otherwise, it's isn't there still the bets one going on? Is it bets 20 or something where you can get the?
So if you just want Run Pure Bets, it's bets 25, right?
Bets
if
25.
You want just Run Pure Sports, RPS Heater 25. If you're already a member of Run Pure Sports, or you just want to join and get both for the cheaper price, use the promo code GETBETS. You'll become a member of runpuresports.com. You'll get access to the cash chart, the final countdown show with JSU, the other shows that are behind the paywall, and of course the coveted cores that you, AP, K Falix in there, Big T and JSU are usually almost always in there. We got Hoop dropping cores as well. Bobby Gomes, he does really well on the Yahoo ones too. So you'll get access to all those. And then, of course, you'll get access to us on the bet side. I got an article coming out later today. We get one article per day. You'll get access to us in the Discord. And, of course, probably the best deal of the whole deal, you will get access to the coveted Keg live show, which Tyler and I will be on tonight with Holden. We'll be giving out live bets on these NBA games that we're discussing right now. Not to mention breaking down, analyzing, and having some fun watching the NBA draft. So I don't think there's any better value for your money in the sports gambling sphere here. So that's what we're trying to provide for you here at Run Pure Sports. And I'm also stalling a little bit, so these lines will come back up. I got most of them. Bucks and Rockets are still off the board. Do you guys have any reason why there?
I have no clue why that would be.
Daniel House and Avery Bradley got rolled out.
Are they worth a point?
I still see. They're still up on DraftKings, I see.
Okay, I got 13.5 now, but I got every number back on the board. Raptors are back out to +4, but I think with Van Fleet out, that's one of their huge. That's one of the huge advantages that I was going to use to target the Raptors. So who gets those minutes? Because Gary Trent Jr. is still out, right?
Yeah, he is.
Who do you think that they'll put in the starting lineup with Van Fleet then?
Let me check. They're probably going to go Kyle Lowry, OG, Siakam, Birch. I mean, they could go Malachi Flynn if they want to go too smaller. They could go Watanabe, Bembry maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure who their last one's going to be. I think they're going to do a rotation, I'd assume.
When you hear those names, doesn't it make you want to take Denver there?
Yeah, that seems pretty gross outside of, Denver definitely seems like the move now with no bet. What's the under now?
Well, I'm glad I waited till after the show to finish my article here, because I was really talking about how much I thought Van Fleet and Lowry were just going to crush more.
What's the total on your book?
The number on Bookmaker right now for the Raptors Nuggets is down all the way to 217.
Yeah, it was. I wish I got a little earlier, but yeah, I like Denver now. Probably.
Our guy Landra thinks that Bembry jumps in the starting lineup.
He definitely could, but he's been out of the rotation more so as of late. 2 months ago when the injuries happened, he was the first guy in. It seemed like he's been left out of the rotation a little more as of late, but he definitely could go right back in. Can handle the ball. He's a small forward, so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of options they could do. Really small Malachi Flynn, Watanabe. They want to give him more minutes, or they could go to Bembry.
Do you think Watanabe's even that good at all? Am I underrating him?
I don't think he's very good.
He seems to me like a fringe rotation player. Like he should be garbage time. That's it.
But I think Toronto likes him more than they should. They're trying to get something from him.
Yeah, there's like an interesting thing where like GMs and coaches tend to overrate their own players just because they drafted him and they have that connection. That could be a case of that today. So, all right, Tyler, did I leave any other games off the board here? Did we get them all?
No, that's it. We got them all. Just that Brooklyn one we missed.
All right. Well, thanks for keeping me in line, guys. And let's go. Gregory Russo's in the chat, so he is ready for his favorite segment. I'll start with you, Title, because all the numbers are back on the board. We can do this now. Give me your best bet today, side, total, or prop.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Nets -5.
Right.
Kevin Durant's the best player on the floor. I like the secondary Brooklyn pieces more than the public in Vegas looks like is. No Sabonis. You really just got to keep Brogdon, LeVert. I mean, LeVert even hasn't been in his best form as of late. I just think no one can stop Durant. Joe Harris has a very good game. Give me them -5.
Real quick, is Miles Turner going to come back this year?
I have no clue. I mean, it seems like how they're listing him on the injury report that they it's like they have him like it's almost day to day, not day to day, but it seems like they're still expecting him back, but I have no clue.
All right. Title likes the Brooklyn Nets -5. Tyler, what do you got? What do you got for us today?
I'm rolling with that Bucks first half -7.5. I really like that play. I think they come out, they thump them in the first half, take their foot off the gas late in the game. So I'd rather just take them in the first half and not worry about them blowing it in the fourth.
I love it. I love it. Just place that one as well. Let me go back because that was the first half menu. So let me go back to the full game menu. Let's see what's left.
You like that Nuggets, didn't you?
Yeah, I wanted to give out something else since that was going to be my article.
Oh,
but
giving the people a freebie. There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do it today because honestly, guys, this is a short slate. I don't feel safe. It would be irresponsible to give out a Mavericks Pistons play right now, right? I guess you can make a case for the Warriors here. That was the other one I was kind of considering here. I do like the bounce back spot there. And I know you like the Pelicans, and that's going to keep me off the Thunder there because I think you made some great points on why I was kind of overvaluing that win over Boston the other night. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and give out the Nuggets here. And for Run Pure Bets members, you'll have a much better idea, although I'm going to have to kind of rewrite the article before it goes up because this is a different game than I analyzed last night. So that should be a lot of fun. Just put it in. We like the Denver Nuggets. We like the Bucks in the first half, and we like the Brooklyn Nets. Title, thank you so much for hanging out, man. I always love talking basketball with you. It's kind of fun to have the shorter day, and we can kind of, jump into some other topics like, playoff prospects and just analyzing the teams and talking about them in general, whereas, on the 11-12 game straight, we just got to jam right through it. But we did it all, and we did it in less than an hour. Do you want to let everyone know all the content you're going to be trying for Run Pure Sports over the weekend?
Yeah, so I'm on the baseball show today at 3:45 Eastern, breaking down the 4-game slate. Then we got the Woods show after
Draft Cheat.
Me, Draft Cheat, and Mangone, I think. Or we have
I love
a host.
that lineup. That's a fun one. You guys have a great time. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely
watch it even if I'm not playing DFS, just because you guys have so much fun.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. And then the Hardwood show after. We have shows 5 days a week for the free shows, and then we have a show 6 days a week. And just tons of sports going on. I always check in on this show too. I appreciate you having me. Yeah. Then we got MMA on Saturday. We got NASCAR on Sunday. We are grinding content every day. I mean, we had content for the early MLB slate too. So if there's a sport going on, we'll have content up at Run Pure Sports. You guys keep crushing the bet side, and I'll probably be on next Thursday as well. I like getting on here when I can. So appreciate you having me.
All right, yeah, and hopefully we'll get you back. We always appreciate you coming on, giving us a different perspective, and think it definitely added to the show today. Tyler, you and I tonight will be on Keg Live. Are you pretty excited to break down the draft, and what are you expecting that we'll be doing tonight?
I mean, I think the draft's just going to be chaos. I mean, the odds for the third pick are showing it. Last night, Mac Jones was -300. Now the favorite's Trey Lance.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
More volatile than Bitcoin, huh?
The only two people that know what that pick's going to be are John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And
you think they trade it?
They even know they could be arguing on the phone right now.
I don't think they
could trade it.
No, I don't think they trade it. Or they throw everyone a curveball and they just take Justin Fields. So
what if they take that lineman?
That would be funny. What if they just pair George Kittle with Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be.
Who's throwing to him?
Yeah, that's the only problem.
Well, you're going to get that type of breakdown and more. If you are a Run Pure Bets member, if you're a member, please come hang out tonight. It'll be me, Tyler, Holden, Keg, and maybe some more mystery guests. I know Steve Boynton likes to hop in. Our guy Mikey likes to hop in. He's always fun when he's on the show. He will find some doozies of bets to go on. Maybe Coop will come hang out. You never know. So the only way to find out is to be a member of runpurebets.com, and then we will see you tonight for Hoop Live. So I'll be on there tonight, 7:30 Eastern. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for another NBA rundown, this time featuring the king of the overs, AP, and then Tyler and I will have you going for a packed Saturday card. A lot of great content going on over Run Pure. Guys, thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. We will see you tomorrow. Run Pure.